Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices.
Hello there, you're welcome to the channel, you're welcome to Football is Everywhere. So talk about the latest football news on here, talk about from transfers to super special goals. So speaking about super special goals, let's get into it. Yesterday, what would I say now? Liverpool won a thrilling game versus Newcastle United with Rio Ngumoha getting the winner, clinching it at the death. But I want to say this. Is it news to me? No. Should it be news to you if you have been on this channel? No, it shouldn't be. I've been saying it. He is a special player. He has been scoring. He has proven himself pre-season, scored I think a couple of goals, and then this season as well, competent assist. So he's a special player. Beautiful goal. And I wish Nigerian Football Federation would do the needful with respect to this player. And I don't want to hear any excuse about his age. Now, usually when you see a player who is 16, who is 17, you say, okay, fair play. He's a young player. Let's give him time to develop. Maybe when he's 19, 20, 21, then we'll begin to consider him for, the Super Eagles and things like that. But every now and again, you get these super special talents that just break the mold, that break everything about structure and timing that you think you understand as a football administrator. And I think Rio Ngumoha is one such player. He took his goal brilliantly. Perfect strike. Wonderful W by Soboslai. So good goal. And happy for the youngster. Hopefully he plays for the Nigerian Super Eagles. But there's something I must say about that game, because sometimes we just hide sort of bad officiating, behind the victory. Now, the referee, don't quite know his name, but he was super awful. Now, I think the red card decision, to send Gordon off was okay. You could see why it's a red card. I personally didn't think it was a red card. I felt like it was a yellow card for sure, definitely a foul. But a red card, you wouldn't argue with it because of how the tackle went down. But there are other decisions where Konate should have been sent off, in my opinion, that's for sure. What's his face? And Gravenberch as well could have been sent off, could have had a penalty awarded against Liverpool. He didn't. And all this notion of the goalkeeper was right there. I don't know how people think it was. I don't know how people think that's some sort of defense. The referee was right there. He was in a perfect position to see it. That's not a defense. Just like me saying, I saw someone, like just like me standing right in front of a shop while the phone is being stolen, and I'm meant to be the security manager, security officer, or personnel of the organization. I say, I don't think he stole it, but I stood right there. And then you see this on the CCTV camera that I was standing right there looking straight at the person that stole the phone. Is that a defense for me? So I don't get how people want to use this to how people often use this as some sort of defense for referees to say he was right there in a perfect position. In fact, for me, the character of the referee should be called into question, for that, because you're in the right position, you have no excuses, there's no one in your way, no player was in your way, you could see the foul being committed, and then you say, oh, nothing, play on. So for me, I don't quite get it. And I said this in previous videos that you see this notion of, or this new phrase they've thrown in there, which I think is pretty useless, in my opinion. Not every contact in the box is a penalty. What does that even mean? Of course, if I tap someone on the face with my finger like this, barely touching, that's not a penalty. But when you put that phrase out there, it just gives the referees and officials carte blanche to decide who to give penalties to. Because Gravenberch had his arms locked around the waist of the Newcastle United defender in the 18th box, so with no intention of heading the ball. So how was that not given as a penalty? I don't quite understand it. And I think since this man, what's his name, Howard Webb, became referee, the head of the PGML, things have not been, things have gone worse. I wouldn't say things have not been normal, because even prior to his joining, when you had Mike Riley, things were not perfect. We're not even working very well. A lot of us still complain. So Howard Webb hasn't made things better. I think he's made things worse, in my opinion. I want to know what you think about that. So, Rio Ngumoha, super special player. I'm sure Liverpool fans are super excited about the player. And Nigerian fans, I hope you've seen what I've been telling you all this while. Let's not make any excuses about this player. And don't be surprised if Tommy Tuchel decides to invite him straight up to the English national team. Don't be surprised. Now we'll go on to different several transfer news that made the rounds in the last 24 hours, and I'll give my own input or insight on them, whatever I want to call it, and then I would like to hear what you think about them in the comment section. So I'll just share my screen in a minute, and of course we'll go to Vasquez joins Liverpool. I suggest Liverpool. Vasquez joins Bayer Leverkusen from Real Madrid. Eventually, he gets to move. Now it's an odd one. Is that a fantastic move for him to Bayer Leverkusen? I think it's a move where he gets to play, because he's one of these Madrid boys that love the club and has been willing to play anywhere. Because if you remember, Vasquez coming up from the Madrid academy was seen as this attacking player, this 10/winger, sort of an Isco region or that type thing. But he didn't get to play with the likes of Vinny Jr. and the likes. He didn't get to play. So he had to play right back. He was willing to play right back. But now when you've got the likes of Danny Carvajal there already, in addition to having Trent Alexander-Arnold, who just joined them from Liverpool this season, that means there's no room for you to play. So fair play on that one. He's got to go. He's got to leave. And let's see what he does with Erik ten Hag, or where Erik ten Hag sees him playing. Will he be taking up the Frimpong role? Let's see about that one. So let me know your opinions on Vasquez heading to Bayer Leverkusen. So, and then we'll talk about this young Brazilian. Don't quite know the player, but he's joining the team. He's joining Pisa in the Italian Serie A, where we have Ebenezer Kinsimiro. So, Serie A side, Pisa agreed deal in principle with Flamengo for talent Lautaro to join the club, 500k loan fee, and then 400 million euros obligation to buy, 50% sell-on clause. That's a huge sell-on clause in my opinion, but fair play. When you get 500,000 as a loan fee for a Brazilian club, that's pretty good. That's pretty nice. So, and that's what I talk about Nigeria. Do you see this kind of deals being done for MPFL clubs? This should be the sort of deals that happen for MPFL clubs. But if as long as it doesn't happen, then the league gets ready to compete in any sort of way with any club whatsoever. Now, there's a news I want to talk about. I'm not going to bring up any sort of image on here, but I'll just read it off my phone. So it's breaking news. Aaron Ramiro, of course, he's not one of those super. Maybe he has some credibility, but he's not those super transfer insiders that want to say it's kind of guaranteed, like your Fabrizio Romanos and your David Honesty and the like. So, but Aaron Ramiro has said this breaking talks ongoing between Chelsea and Bayern Munich regarding the loan fee and structure. Chelsea won 50 million euros fee plus obligation to buy for 60 million euros. Personal terms have already been agreed upon with the players' representative as initially reported. Now, for me, I think that's pretty strange. Now, if Bayern Munich agrees to that, that's as good as signing a player for 75 million euros, because that's not a loan deal, right? 15 million euros, loan fee, and then an obligation to buy for 60 million euros. That's about 75 million euros right there. Now, from a Chelsea fan's perspective, when you look at how he's played at Chelsea, probably you say that's maybe a bit too much. But then when you look at the transfer market itself in general, and you see the sort of transfer fees that some players have attracted, given the fact that they've scored in and around the same sort of goals, like Nicholas Jackson, Sesko, for instance, 14 goals. He's gone to Manchester United for 80 million euros. 75 million euros of that guaranteed. So when that happens, you look at it and say, oh well, maybe it's not the demand isn't too crazy for a Nico Jackson, So let me know your opinions on that in the chats, and let's go on. Now we'll have to talk about Newcastle United. They played yesterday. They got Gordon got sent off. Osula, another Nigerian-eligible player, but the way teams are panning out right now, he may very well play for Denmark. He's played a couple of games for them for their under the 19 team, so he may very well be, a starter if Rasmus Højlund continues to play the way he plays. So, but he scored the goal, and everyone felt like, wow, what a fight back from 2 goals down with a man down, coming back. This could be something to kickstart Newcastle United's season. But they ended up losing that game, as I already said on the show. We go from Rio Ngumoha, top talent. Super Eagles get him in that building. But now, one thing that has been the tale of Newcastle United season has been rejection. Now, you know how Jose Mourinho called himself the special one, and how every manager that comes to the Premier League, they sort of want to ask him, what would you call yourself? I think Newcastle United right now can brand themselves the rejected ones. I know it kind of sounds like something you hear in possibly a Game of Thrones or some other epic type TV series, maybe. But has just been the theme of the transfer window. They've gone for they got rejected by Ekitike. He went to Manchester United. He went to Liverpool. They got rejected by Mbeumo. He went to Manchester United. They got rejected by João Pedro. He got to Chelsea. Even the striker that they have in the building is rejecting them technically, because that's what he's doing. He's saying, no, I don't want to be there. He's rejecting them, and he's moving on. And now, once again, it feels like they're getting rejected by Wolves. And there's a player that would interest a lot of Nigerians, that could be heading to Wolves, given what his coach has said. But I'll just stick with this particular news item right now. So, Strand Larsen, the striker for Wolves, has been, they put the bid in around £50 million for the player. And Wolves have rejected that bid. And Fabrizio Romano has gone on to say Newcastle United are still working on the transfer. So I'll just share this up and let's see. So Newcastle United are still working. Sorry. Newcastle United are still working and insisting on Jurgen Strand Larsen deal after £50 million bid rejected. Wolves don't want to sell the player, but Newcastle United still trying to find club-to-club solution ahead of deadline. Now, I wonder what your thoughts are on that one right now. I wonder what you think about that one. I see why they want to sign him. I think he's a slightly different profile from your Alexander Isak, because I don't think he's one of those ones that can run the channels. Though he's super mobile, he can be physical, he can be that prototypical number 9, in the box, latching onto crosses on target, makes life difficult for opposition centre back. So I can see why a Newcastle United would want the player. But I just wonder, are you spending way too much? Because if Wolves have rejected a £50 million offer, definitely maybe what you're thinking of getting him would be 55, maybe 60, 65 million pounds for the player. I get at this point, Newcastle United, I'd be desperate to get a striker in the building. And possibly, I think the question or what might be that driving force behind them would be, okay, he's Premier League proven, which is an argument a lot of people say when I think a lot of Premier League players are overvalued. Say he's Premier proven, but let's get it right. A lot of players that have come to the Premier League and have really thrived have not been Premier League proven. They've come straight from another league and boom, made it in the Premier League. Suarez straight from Ajax, boom, hit. Torres straight from Atletico Madrid to Liverpool, boom. In fact, it was when he moved from Liverpool to Chelsea that he sort of struggled. So sometimes this prem proving thing may be just a little bit overemphasized, in my opinion. So I see why they want to go for him, but is this something that they should be willing to overpay for? I don't quite agree with that one, but let's see what they do. And for me, it's a bit strange. Why? Like you see, like I'll say his name again. Yes, I'll say his name again. It's not like Bloody Mary if I say it 3 times, nothing's gonna happen. So Tolu Arokodare, right? He's got 21 goals. He fits the profile they're looking for, that big, strong, mobile center forward. He's 6'6". He's right there. But I'm guessing it's a prem proven thing, that everyone's sort of going on about. Maybe that's what it is. But he's there valued in and around 20 to, is it 25 or 30 million euros, something ridiculously low like that. And his club are willing to sell him because that's the club that are at the pyramid of world and European football where, players, where they're willing to sell their best players. So he is available, but I think that the Newcastle United scouts and admin people have higher up the ranks. And Victor Boniface is another name, a top player. Now, people going about his knee and all that. Yeah, he is recovered, full recovery, but let's see what Newcastle United do. If eventually Wolves accept their offer, or once again they stick to their moniker, to their team for this transfer window, which is the rejected ones at the minute. So, let me let some opinions on Strand Larsen. At the top of the show, we talked about Rio Ngumoha, a super special player. I did a reaction video to some of his skills, ability on the ball, and things he does. And I think he is super special right now for Liverpool. And maybe, who knows, they may not sign that left winger because he's proven that he comes off the bench and he takes his opportunity. And now there's something that is going on amongst Chelsea fan base right now, which is a bit odd to me. Because for me, I think there are people who in this, whether it's content creation space or whatever, media space, however I want to call it, that don't think like humans, right? They have their niche where they hold on to, they have the line of thought that they hold on to and never leave it, irrespective of evidence that is before them. So you have the likes of, you have the people who support Clear Lake, Blue Co, irrespective of what happens. I'm sure Liverpool will have people who always support FSG irrespective of what happens. I'm sure Manchester United would have fans who always support Ineos and the Glazers irrespective of what happens. So I think you have people like that at Chelsea as well. I know there are people like that at Chelsea. So when people talk about Rio Ngumoha as a mistake that has been made, why did Chelsea let him go? Like, it was fine. Just a player scored 1 goal while making noise about it. And then when you also go on to talk about the likes of your Tyreek George that could be let go to Roma on a permanent transfer, like, oh yeah, good to let him go. He's just a good player. Now, and when I look at the likes of Bino Gittins, I ask myself, is he really that special? I look at Garnacho, I say, is he that middle mover? Is he that guy that immediately he comes into Chelsea right now, he comes in, he gives you, say, 15, 16 goals a season with another, say, 7 assists? No. So sometimes it's good to ask questions. It's good to have dynamic trend of thought. That's what makes you human, right? You don't just see one thing, like water can be in a bottle, and if you pour on the floor, you can say, oh, it's still in the bottle. No, your perspective changes as things change. That's what makes us all humans, dynamic thought. So the AD says, how you go? How are you? Isak should go to Liverpool and Strand Larsen Wisa for 60 million. Fair play. At this point in time, because you know what? Speaking about Newcastle United, I think the the top ranking officials and PIF were at that game, and their plan is to try and get Isak to be reintegrated into the Newcastle United lineup. And now, for me, I think while that's possible, I just think Newcastle United should just cut bait, just let him go. 120 million pounds, let him go and let him join Liverpool and reinvest money wisely. Don't pull a pause where They sold Bale and then decided to spend the money on everything but quality players. So you could let him go and reinvest the money. That's my thoughts and opinions on that whole thing. Now, you can sell him, maybe get a visa in, but I still think you need an actual out now striker. Visa is a decent player. Um, so maybe if they look to sign Wisa and Sean Larson, maybe that could work. But one thing about Wisa, one little red flag about Wisa is that he's only been successful playing under Thomas Frank. Now, has he got to that level where he's super, super mature in his style of play? Or is someone that's still tied to a particular system? But at this point, Newcastle United just have to go for a striker, hopefully to get forwards in the building. Because right now they have no one, and Isak, even if he's reintegrated, who knows where his head would be. So let's go on with some. And then Crystal Palace still on this. Crystal Palace are in advanced talks with Jeremy Pino. Now, this Jeremy Pino thing for me is a bit of an odd one, right? It's a bit of an odd one because I say, is he what they need? Is he exactly an Ebere Eze replacement? Now, you can sign a player as an additional body to come into the building, but the question is he exactly the kind of player that you're thinking, yeah, he's coming to replace Eze? I don't quite think so because Eze is a 10. Clear as days. Obviously, he is a 10. So if you're signing Jeremy Pino, who's more or less a winger, not more or less, he's actually a winger. So are you looking at changing the style of play, or are you looking at shoehorning him into the 10 role? Then I just think you make things a bit difficult for yourself. But they're interested in him. They want to get bodies in the building. Just one window will be shutting in a couple of days. So I think it'll be on the 7 p.m. first of September, and there will be a transfer deadline day show on here. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you click on that notification bell as well, so you're notified when every video comes on here, whether it's a live stream like this one or a pre-recorded video. So, Pino, what do you think about him going to Crystal Palace? Is it the right fit? I feel like he could be a right fit, but if he's being signed as a like for like is a very easy replacement, I just think that's a non-starter. I just think that would not really work properly, in my humble opinion. So, Crystal Palace fans, what do you think? Fans generally, what do you think about that as well? And for the real fans, if you're indeed watching this video, which would be crazy, and let me know what you think about the player leaving your club. So I'll stop sharing in a bit. Now, there's one news I want to talk about, and that has to do with Nigeria international Chukwueze. Samuel Chukwueze linked to a move to Fulham. And for me, it's just the way some of these clubs behave when they're talking about Nigerian players. I try to keep any sort of bias out of it and just look at it from a standpoint of, okay, you want to sign a player, you have to do your due diligence, you know, uh, uh, um, you have to make sure you're getting the right value for the player. You have to look at what is prevailing in the market with respect to what players of similar age, similar value, attract. So you pay the right market value for the player. But for me, when something things happen, I just wonder, like the whole medical thing with what's his face now, the whole medical thing with Victor Boniface. I looked at a lot of players, and I just wonder why, And then I see with the whole thing about Arokodare, the lack of interest in Napoli thing, but we hear about them being interested in Rasmus Højlund and things like that, and just wonder what is going on. So for me, this yeah. So back on the ability is insane. So according to some reports, they have questions about they have the Fulham are having reservations about his wage demands. They're saying it's a bit too hefty, it's a bit too much. And what is it? 4 million euros. Now, I always say this: 4 million euros. You give me 4 million euros, maybe I shut down this channel and I go to a warm beach somewhere and just chill and never work again. But for footballers, 4 million euros is base. When you look at the caliber of player he is, 4 million euros is what you expect to end a year. That's about 80 or odd thousand a week. The same thing, look at 25 million euros. You know, is that super crazy? Is that super crazy? I don't think so. You know, I don't really think so that it's super crazy that way. That you're having clubs bulk at the sight of having to pay that amount. So So for me, I don't know what the whole madness is all about. Talking about his wages are too much, I don't quite get it. And AC Milan have placed a valuation on him. They've placed 25 million euros valuation on him, and people are saying Super Eagles forward faces 25 million euros roadblock. That's not super crazy. It's not in the market in this present transfer window. 25 million euros isn't that crazy for a Premier League club to spend on an established winger with Champions League experience. International experience with Nigerian national team, obviously. And then, of course, he's played with AC Milan for a couple of seasons right now. He has Champions League experience. So for Fulham, that is the sort of player you should be looking for. There's also talk about being interested in Filippo Telle of FC Basel. The player I've done a video about as well that I hope at some point gets to play for the Nigerian Super Eagles. So I don't get this struggle, right? I don't get the struggle. I don't get this sort of 25 million euros being sort of a roadblock. It doesn't make any sense to me. So anyways, let's see how that all shakes down. Now, there's one player that, maybe heading to Wolves, and he is Uche Chrisantus. He's made the World Cup, the provisional World Cup qualifying list for the Nigerian Super Eagles. So expect him to be the key player in the game versus Rwanda, and in this South Africa. But he's been linked to a move to Wolves, and it appears that the move is getting closer and closer and closer. And the coach has said he doesn't want the player to go. And you can understand his sentiment is essentially saying every season he can't be the club that Getafe can't be allowing the top players to leave, can't be selling their top players. But sometimes, unfortunately, that's the way things turn out. So I think he'll be an amazing signing for Wolves. I think he'll be a very good signing in that midfield for Wolves. And on the flip side of things, though, like I said, Manchester United, I don't care what they do. If they get relegated, that's a problem. But it's just odd to me where you want to sign a Baleba. Obviously, you want to sign a Baleba for sure. And you're willing to go maybe 60, 70. And of course, Brighton would always look for 100 million. And you have a player that's in around 20 million euros and you're not even considering. Maybe you're waiting for Brighton to go in again, sign him for that 20 million odd, and then you end up paying 100 million for him. So I think he'll definitely be a good signing for Wolverhampton Wanderers for sure. And obviously excited to see him in the Premier League, see what he does, see if he's able to translate what he's done, in the Spanish La Liga to the Premier League. And I just feel like if you're a good player, you're a good player. If you're a good player, you're a good player. And if your manager and the scouts who have scouted you playing for a La Liga side in Getafe, see you as a midfielder and say, okay, we're signing you as a midfielder. We're going to play you in your right position as a midfielder. We're not going to ask you to do something strange. I think if you're a good player, you thrive, you shine, right? As opposed to maybe if he signs and then he's playing some awkward position. So I'm excited for him. And let's hopefully get the move to Wolves and let's see, what he is all about. Let's see, how it all shakes down in the end. So more transfer news talk about this. Talk about McGahey. McGahey having Liverpool as the destination of choice. So for me, I just feel like, McGahey, do you really want to go to Liverpool? Now, this is not the problem with him going to Liverpool per se, but do you really want to go to Liverpool and become a bench option, right? You want to become a bench option for Konate because, yeah, if you want to be battling with Konate for that starting spot, you already have a starting spot at Crystal Palace, and if you're looking to move, you should be looking to move to a club where you are going to start. That's what you should be looking to do. And now we have to shift gears to talk about Tolu Arokodare. What is happening about his proposed move to Napoli? Well, it seems like Napoli, they have their eyes fixed on another player. And for me, this is a head scratcher. This is a massive head scratcher for me. Like, why? What do you see in this guy? Rasmus Højlund has been at Manchester United now. He's struggled for, I think, past 2 seasons has been at Manchester United. But apparently, maybe Napoli, they super trust Antonio Conte's ability when it comes to what's it called now, improving strikers. So maybe that's why they want to go in for him. So I don't get it. I think the best player for me right now, for them, or rather the better player between the two strikers would have been Tolu Arokodare. But from the reports that Fabrizio Romano has dropped, it seems Napoli have their eyes fully set on getting Rasmus Højlund. So I'll just share this up and then I'll give my opinion on what this may mean for, Tolu Arokodare. Now, so Napoli, they have their eyes apparently set on Rasmus Højlund. A deal will soon be completed soon. So Napoli are confident of getting a deal done. So Napoli are confident to get Rasmus Højlund deal done very soon as talks are at final stages. Loan with option to buy clause become mandatory for fee close to 45 million euros. Contract until 2030 for Rasmus, waiting on exit agreement with Manchester United. So it seems that's where Napoli are headed to. Now, the question that this begs in terms of this move, if it's a good move, I think Højlund is a good move for him. You get to go to a club where you'll be treated as the main guy, as the main striker, and you have someone like Antonio Conte there. He can bring the best out of you. Now, the question that is he really an Antonio Conte's choice? We know at Chelsea, Lukaku was Antonio Conte's choice. That's who he wanted. And the club ended up giving him Morata. And when Conte kicks off, he kicks off. So is this his choice? And if it's not his choice, everyone at Napoli just should pray that everything works out. Because if it doesn't, he's surely going to kick off. Now, what does this mean for Tolu Arokodare? Because right now, the way things are at his present club at KRC Genk, they're all about mentally prepared and psychologically prepared. They prepare themselves psychologically for his leaving. Because right now, even when they want to start, even he doesn't get to start games anymore because they're trying to protect him, trying to make sure he doesn't pick up any injury before any proposed move. So they talk about Napoli. And now, so if Napoli are heading for Rasmus Højlund, I don't think they will be heading for Tolu Arokodare. So what does that mean for him? We've also heard reports about Milan being interested in Tolu Arokodare. And I know a lot of Nigerians will really lose their minds with this one, especially with the whole Victor Boniface thing, how the whole medical thing went down, so that might be something people talk about. For me, I just feel like if it's a move that you want to go, you're interested in, I think you should go. No worries about that. But for me, just make sure you get your agreement sorted out, your contract terms. You know how you're going to live, your wages, release clause, get all those boring stuff sorted out, so you don't get, you know, so you don't get any sort of issues that that you don't want. You don't have any confusion at the end. So that's how I see it. So I'll just share a couple of sort of reports and rumors and things like that about this move. So there's one from the Milan Eye, and what do they say? They say the club that AC Milan are looking at Embolo and Tolu Arokodare. And the way I say it is Embolo is not, it's not. When you look at both strikers, Tolu Arokodare is better, but maybe they're trying to do some, pricing the market, trying to see the options that they have. And there's also they talk about this Conrad Harder. I think it's a Danish striker as well that plays for Sporting Lisbon that they are also considering. So, so there's this talk about this one. Embolo, I think between him and Embolo, the choice should be clear. Anyways, it should be Tolu Arokodare. You should be going for. So Nigeria Scout says, don't know why AC Milan is not moving forward to Tolu Arokodare. Proper Zlatan Ibrahimovic-like striker. Let's see how that all shakes down. If they indeed will go for him eventually, I just think he's too good right now for the Belgian league. And maybe going to the Serie A, not maybe, going to the Italian Serie A would do him a world of good, in my opinion. So Nigeria says AC Milan are looking to sign Nigeria's Tolu Arokodare to the San Siro this summer. Source Complete Sports. You have Lasha Kokshavili says AC Milan are interested in Tolu Arokodare, KRC Genk striker. The first contact between the parties has already been made. Well, Master says Genk forward Tolu Arokodare is always an option for Milan's attack. He was proposed to Milan and they consider him among the options. So, as it sits, it is not cut and dry right now. It's something where they're considering several options. So, another one, Milano fans, AC Milan have the sight set on, and that's a long time ago. So, stop sharing, and we'll be back here. So, for me, I just feel like Tolu Arokodare, for clubs like AC Milan, he could be an ideal striker, but we've seen from the reports that they have particular strikers that they want. They have a list of strikers that they're considering. So it's not something where they've, pinpointed him as the absolute main striker that they're looking to sign. So for me, I just think a good move for him to go to AC Milan. Maybe if he can get to an Anderlecht or Club Brugge, still in the Belgian league where he gets to play Champions League football, I think that would be super, super excellent in his own perspective. In general, putting my Nigerian hat on, that I always wear anyway. I just want these players to get their future sorted out. So when you have to play in the World Cup qualifiers, you don't have any issues with that one. And then when you get to play, in the AFCON, you don't have anything in your mind where you're thinking, oh, where am I going to go? What's my career going to be like? But on the flip side of it, the transfer window will be shut on the 1st of September. So that means one way or the other, his future will be sorted out. So there's a young striker that currently is getting most of the game time at KRC Genk. But I have a feeling that if Tolu Arokodare, doesn't leave the club, he may return to being the top striker, the number one striking option, at the club. So that's my total opinions on this whole Tolu Arokodare stuff. And then, so if you can join the show, let me know what you think about this proposed move of Nicholas Jackson, to Bayern Munich, Chelsea's proposal. What do you think about it? 50 million euros a loan fee alongside a 60 million euros buy obligation to buy, not even an option. You think it's something that Bayern Munich will go for? Well, they have been pushing for a loan. I don't know why Bayern, German clubs do this, but they have been pushing for a loan for the player. And the reports are, well, they've spent a lot on the deal for Luis Diaz. But so They're not looking to spend a lot of money on an additional signing. Now the question is he going to be backup for Harry Kane? Because definitely he's never ever going to bench Harry Kane. It's not going to happen. You know, the level and quality is just too high. Except, Bayern Munich are looking at a situation where they're beginning to plan for the future, where they're beginning to look at Harry Kane and saying to themselves, he's not obviously getting any younger, and we need maybe a more athletic forward. Or maybe are they looking at him as a left winger? It will be odd, it will be funny and pretty strange if he is indeed signed as a left winger for left wing option for Bayern, and he and Luis Diaz get to fight it out and compete for that left wing option, for that left wing spot. So for me, overall, I think fine move is fair play that he moves, and a lot of Chelsea fans have been doing this thing where they're having revisionist history, where like, oh, why are we letting Jackson go? He scored 30 goals in 2 seasons. Well, that's not great. They say without penalties. Now, 15 goals a season, because that's what you average if you score it. If you score 30 goals in 2 seasons, that's 15 goals in 2 seasons in a season, and that's just bare minimums. For a club like Chelsea, you're looking for a striker that hits that 20 goal mark at least. And he's had lots and lots of chances to actually score goals. So he should be hitting 20 goals easily. Now, fair play for most clubs, for most strikers at different clubs, they are the penalty takers. And then they're the number one penalty taker, and then your number 10s or your captain becomes the second penalty taking option. And at Chelsea, it's just not the case. Cole Palmer was made a penalty taker, and that's what everyone has gone with. But overall, he's had opportunities to prove himself. He's been at the club without competition, and people have turned that around to blame the club. Say, oh, you did Jackson a disservice by not giving him competition. For me, I don't see that as an excuse, right? If you are a striker, you should be your own motivation already. Now, granted, having someone to look over your shoulder at, just chasing you, that wants your breakfast, that wants your dinner, gives you or should give you that extra push, that extra motivation, to make sure you retain your spot. But on the other hand, when a club decides that we are not buying anyone to directly compete for your spot, that means they have confidence in your abilities. And for me, he just hasn't been, at that top level. Now, if he's going to Bayern, he goes there and it comes good in different environment, different voice, different belief system, in himself, and he goes there and thrives. Fair play if he does that. But for me, I'm not willing to turn back the hands of the clock and say something different. He hasn't really been great at Chelsea. He has been pretty decent, and I think if he was to stay at Chelsea and be that left wing option, I would have gone like, yeah, that's good. Now, there's one player I want to talk about, a Chelsea player that possibly could be leaving at Chelsea. He is eligible to play for the Nigerian Super Eagles, obviously. I've talked about him, and I think I'll do a reaction video on him later on. And he is Tyreek George. Apparently, Roma have been in touch with Chelsea for his signature. Now, for me, this is an odd one, right? It's an odd one. Yeah, I get he has to play, right? I get Tyreek George has to play. But I ask the question, why are Chelsea letting him go? That's the issue I have. Why are Chelsea letting Tyreek George go? I don't get it. Like, first off, you say you signed a Garnacho, and I think at Chelsea, and like many clubs, you have people that have this addiction to something called simultaneum. They're always looking for the new sign, the latest sign, the new one in. Bring. Now, whatever the impact of that player is, whatever the potential impact of that player is, they don't care so much about it. Just give me some more signings. Give me a new signing to come into the building. And I, for one, don't get what is super special about Garnacho, where you're willing to let one of your best club prospects leave the club. I don't get it. Now, some people who are blaming the club for letting Rio Ngumoha go are the ones cheering for Tyreek George to leave. Tyreek George, for me, is better than Rio Ngumoha, in my opinion, than Rio Ngumoha. He is better. He is better. I've watched both of them play. He is better. So, and I think in terms of skill wise, what he has in his tool belt, I think he has more to his game than Gittins. Gittins has pure pace, has more pace than him. For sure he does. But I don't think when I look at them, I don't think he's that much better than Tyreek George. I don't think. So, but anyways, so AS Roma asked for Tyreek George, deal conditions after initial contact revealed in July. He's one of the options at left wing. Sancho keeps not opening the doors to the move. And Chelsea winger on Roma shortlist and RB Leipzig as well. So the RB Leipzig are also interested in the player. But one thing I want to say is whilst he may go to Roma, I think Chelsea should be careful as well because this is the same sort of mistake that Chelsea made that caused Chelsea to lose out on the signing of Michael Olise that at one point was eligible to play for the Nigerian Super Eagles, but ever since he's choosing to play for France, so fair play to him. It was the same thing, right? You had Crystal Palace willing to do business with you as long as you allowed Lewis Hall go the other way on loan. But you refused. You went on and then you did some sort of crazy deal and let him go to Newcastle. I don't know if they offered maybe a bit more loan fee or offer to pay some money upfront or whatever. He goes there and then you lose out on getting a generational talent in Michael Olise. Now, you're presently in negotiations with RB Leipzig for Xavi Simons. And they have told you that if Nkunku, a different player, obviously doesn't make a move to RB Leipzig, that could make the move for Xavi Simons very complicated. And RB Leipzig have also shown interest in Tyreek George. So for me, why don't you just make the negotiation and have the player go to RB Leipzig? So one, you're able to get the player that you want. And secondly, I think Tyreek George would try better in the Bundesliga than the Serie A. Because I think the Bundesliga is suited to pacey players with electrifying pace, and he has pace. He can play that left wing for RB Leipzig, or he can play the right wing. He can share this position with Antonio Nusa. He's got the pace, he's got the skill, and he will thrive there. They play the balls quickly into the wingers. The teams play with crazy high lines, so he will thrive there. And I don't get why Chelsea must sell him. Because the reports are Chelsea are insisting on a sale, on a permanent sale of the player. Now, I don't get it. This, again, for me, is just what happens at football clubs where you have a lot of cronyism that goes on. Oh, we like this player, and just ignore every other thing you see. Then actually come to Chelsea and become this super player, super fantastic player. But when I look at him, I just say, is he that great? Is he that game changer that comes in immediately and changes the outlook of your club? I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I know those people who like new signings who want him to come because you want one more new signing. You want to hear, here we go from Fabrizio Romano. But for me, I just don't see why you want to, sell the house, sell the kids and give the kids up for adoption just to get Garnacho to come into the building. I don't quite get it. Now, you have this business about, loaning, about signing players from all over the world. How about Cobham graduates? I think even if you're just looking from a pure capitalist mindset, right? You have players in your structure already that you don't have to spend a dime on. I dare say are on similar levels to a lot of these youngsters you're signing from other clubs. Give them a chance. And then when you get to sell them for 30, 40, 50 million pounds, that comes in as pure profit. That's just even from a pure capitalist sort of mindset, right? A pure commercial mindset. So that's all. I'm just resigned to the fact that Tyree George is going to be leaving the club. That's it. So first of all, if you're just joining the show, join the channel, join the stream, please. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel. And what do you think about Rio Ngumoha? Good enough to play for Nigeria? Convinced yet that he has the ability to play for Nigeria at the senior level? Because right now, the way he's playing, you are not going to say he plays under 17 or under 20. No, this straight to the senior team. That's how this would happen if ever he gets to play for Nigeria. And then what do you make of the officiation in of the Newcastle United Liverpool game? For me, I think it was just poor, just very, very poor in my opinion. It was all round poor performance by the referee, whatever reasons, whether it's corrupt or inept or whatever, that's just not good enough. Now, speaking about transfers, Fabrizio just posted a few minutes ago. Real Betis still interested in the signing of Anthony. Right. So I think let's see how that happens. I'll put it up here so we can all see it. So Real Betis maintained their confidence to get Anthony deal done as reported last week. Face-to-face talks took place on Monday and continue today. Betis offer initial loan and want to get the deal done as soon as possible. Still waiting for green light. Anthony wants the deal, wants the move as well. Of course, he wants the move because right now he is not. I don't think he's really favored by what's his face by Ruben Amorim, and I don't even think he's really favored by the Manchester United fans. So that's it. I don't. So he just has to leave. And what's funny or ironic, I think, Jadon Sancho and Anthony, if they were just fresh people you just scouted, you could argue would fit perfectly into this three at the back 2-10 system that Amorim wants to implement at Manchester United. But it's just that there's so much bad water under the bridge right now that they just have to leave. And for Sancho, I don't even know what's wrong with him anyways. Chelsea, he failed to agree wages with Chelsea. I think Chelsea reportedly offered 180 and he turned that down. Fenerbahce, he's turned that down. He's turned down a move to Roma, and that's why Roma now interested and now in the running for Tyree George. So I just wonder what's wrong with him. Hopefully, for his sake, he gets a move. Maybe the whole thing would be Turkey would always be there. Come the end of the regular transfer window for most European leagues, the Turkish league will be open. I think they stay on till about the end or close of September. So maybe that's where he's looking at. Maybe Saudi could come in as well and offer him not of £200,000 a week or to even offer him his current £250,000 a week wage, and probably that would get the deal done for him. So we talked about Chukwueze, we talked about Tolu Arokodare, we talked about Newcastle United being rejected by Strand Larsen. Now, if you're a Liverpool fan and it feels like right now you're going to get rejected by Wolves, the offer made right now is that and has been rejected by Wolves. And so, what do you make of it? Do you think Newcastle United should make another offer for the player, or go in again, or go in for a different option? And if you're talking about options, which options would you be going for? Of course, I'll mention two, and of course, right off the bat, you say you're Nigerian, that's why you're mentioning them. So I'll say Victor Boniface, I'll say Tolu Arokodare. But if you're not going for either of those, who would you be going for? Who would you want your club, if you're a Newcastle United fan, to go for? Because looking at it right now, Wolves have already rejected the initial offer, and you're pushing for the player. Are you going to get him? Are you going to keep it till to the deadline day, to the absolute deadline day? And let's see about that one. And then one more interesting transfer business that has gone on. I have to talk about it again, and that is Carney Chukwuemeka heading to Dortmund. The deal done, the deal confirmed, all is done. And for me, from a Chelsea perspective, I look at it and feel like he's one of those people that I think, you know, has been hard done by a couple of things. One, injuries. Two, the fact that the manager doesn't really like him. Maybe not as a person, but as a player for whatever reason. And then you have the Cole Palmer effect. He's there. He's the number one guy that that number 10 role. But on the other side, you look at the coach in Enzo Maresca. He doesn't want to really bring anyone off the bench 20 minutes, 30 minutes on for what's his face, Palmer. And right now it seems he's kind of in love with the idea of Estevao William being able to play that right wing and play the 10 as well. So, and that's one thing I'm thinking in my mind. You want to sign a Javi Simmons. Are you willing to play him in his right position? Well, that's a different discussion for another time. So, Kanu Chukwuemeka official confirmed. Kanu Chukwuemeka joins Borussia Dortmund on permanent deal from Chelsea, contract until June 2030. But from a Nigerian perspective, I'm super excited for this. Super happy that he's made the move to Dortmund. He gets to play. You know, there's nothing better for a player where you're at a club where the club hierarchy wants you, the head coach wants you, he likes you, he plays you in your rightful position and lets you cook, as the kids would say, or rather lets you play. You know, as grown-ups would say, lets you play in your rightful position, lets you shine in what you know how to do best. So happy for him, and hopefully, Chill, you keep your eyes open. For me, one thing I say about Nigerian football is this: in terms of talent, all over the world, like you're talking about the grassroots players coming from Nigerian grassroots football, your Promise Melegas, your uh, your Tolu Arokodare, he came from the grassroots system, your Shola Ogundonos, your Ebenezer Kinsimeros, your Areri Parabos, you have young players coming in from the grassroots. Yeah, you talk about dual nationals. You have your Francis Onyeka, right? Obala Kuse unknown to Boko. You have your Kanu Chukwuemeka. You have your Rio Ngumoha. So you have these players everywhere. So anywhere you want to look at, home base, born outside the country, you have these players everywhere. So there's no excuse not to get fresh blood in the building. There's no excuse to have to lack in certain areas. And for me, when I look at the Nigerian Super Eagles right now, speaking from a Nigerian perspective, the 10 role, who is to play the 10? Because even if Eric Shiel plays his 4-3-1-2 formation and you play Ademan Lookman, he's not a 10. You're just kind of hoping that he's able to translate, his ability, obvious ability on the right side, or rather on the left side, and bring it to that central position. But I ask myself, why do you want to do that when you have your Kanu Chukwuemekas right now that I think will be very easy to get into commit to Nigeria? You have your Francis Onyeka that is there, that can get to come into the team and contribute as well. You have your Ethan Waneri that is there, who might say, oh, but England. No, you have to try to get this player. So you have options that you should be looking at. You should be fighting to get that actual number 10. You should be looking all over the world, because football indeed is everywhere. Yes, I have to say it. Football is everywhere. Hope you subscribe to the channel. And let's go on. So for me, I think Kanu Chukwuemeka moving to Dortmund is indeed a good move for him. He gets to play there, he gets to thrive there, and he gets to really, really come into his own there. That's all I hope and pray for the player, because he's a super quality player. Injuries have just been a huge issue for him. And then the whole thing about the manager as well. And people think that, oh, it's not important. It is important, right? A manager liking you, a manager wanting you is super important. Playing in the right position is important. So, because at Chelsea, I felt so sorry for him playing 1 minute here, 2 minutes here. Conference League, you play 5 minutes off the bench. And when the coach does that, that's a sign that I don't want you at the club. Yes, I will play you and play for 5 minutes, and the fans who complain about it say, oh, he's not done anything for 5 minutes. So fair play. Dortmund hopefully goes there and shines and thrives. He had a very decent first stint at the club while he was unknown there. And he is pretty upset as well. He said that he's not happy with the way Chelsea treats players. And fair play. Fair play. I've seen it with Nicholas Jackson. I think if you wanted him gone, there's a way you'd have handled it differently. The Nkunku thing, I think he should have been treated differently. And now I know some Chelsea fans are like, oh, there you complain. No. You treat players in certain ways because sometimes the wheel of life, it comes around again. We know the player can go out and really shine and you need to sign him. Sometimes other players that you want to sign may be represented by the same agent of the player you've treated like a bag of you know what. So that's it. But all in all, hopefully he goes there and indeed he thrives at the league. So I want to know what you think about Kanu Chukwuemeka joining Dortmund. For me, I think that's a fine move for him. And as well, Aaron Anselmino has also was part of the deal to see him go there. So it's been 5 million euros in addition to Aaron Anselmino joining the club. No option to buy, just a pure loan transaction. But for me, this is another one where I look at the coach, I look at Enzo Maresca and just feel like this is another thing where the coach has just said, I don't like this player, so I'm not even going to consider him. Keep saying he trains well. Well, who says coaches don't lie? If he trains well, you have a co-will out. Why haven't you given him an opportunity to play? And don't get it twisted. If a player plays in the Premier League, it does not prevent him from making a move to Dortmund. And the Champions League hasn't yet started. The Champions League starts, I think, is it September late-ish or October even? So the Champions League doesn't start this month. So he should have been playing, showing what he's able to do. But the coach just doesn't want him to play because there's always the risk you stand as a coach or as a board that you play a player you don't rate and he absolutely balls out, he absolutely shines in the game, and the fans are chanting his name, and then, whoa, I can't bench him anymore. Because everyone has seen his ability, everyone has seen how good he is. So you now have your hands tied behind your back. So I get why he's gone on loan. Hopefully he's gone there to play well and thrive well. Kendrick Pires as well, similar situation where, he thought he was coming to Chelsea to play in the Club World Cup. But it turned around that he just got to train with them and was dropped out. And then he thought he was going to join Chelsea, and then he's gone off to Strasbourg. So when you begin to treat players and people like this, then you begin to sow the seed of distrust. I know a lot of people feel like, oh, you're just players. You see them as players, but they're humans as well. Let's say you want to work for a company and say, okay, you work at our headquarters, in London, and then rather than working at the headquarters in London, you end up, working at a tiny branch in Oshodi. Now, would you be happy with that? Wouldn't you feel like, oh, that's odd? I was made all these promises. Why? Because so that's just how I feel. Even if you want a player to leave or want a player to go, be clear about it from the jump. Be clear about it from the jump. That's my total opinions on that one. So things we've talked about so far, we've talked about Rio Ngumoha, fantastic player for Liverpool, scored a brilliant goal for Liverpool yesterday to get them the win in that 5-goal thriller, though Newcastle United were a man down. And the referee, I'll say it was absolutely horrible. I know Liverpool are treated like that, some sort of UNICEF, or WWF, the wildlife something, they're treated like an organization that serves humanity, with special sort of consideration. So that being said, the referee was awful in my opinion. Take nothing away from the brilliant dummy by Sebastian and the excellent finish into the far post where the goalkeeper was standing incidentally by Rio Ngumoha. I hope the NFF will see what everyone is saying and stop mocking about and get him in the building. Talking about Kanu Chukwuemeka going to Dortmund. I think it's a fantastic move for him. Terry George as well. Another Nigeria-eligible player, possibly heading to Roma. RB Leipzig interested in the player as well. And then speaking about RB Leipzig, they are also interested in Nkunku. So we've heard this talk about if Nkunku, if the deal for Nkunku to RB Leipzig doesn't work out, it could make things complicated for Xavi Simons. And for me, I just think that just get it done. You don't want Nkunku at the club. You don't want him. It's not like he's a player that Enzo Maresca just rates him so much that he will play him every time, every day. He doesn't like him, or let's say he doesn't rate him. So he's not going to play him. That's just clear. He's not going to play him. So why do you keep him? You're waiting for this huge outlay. I've said it before. You can't get it both ways. You can't you can't have your cake and then have it for lunch as well, right? You can't undervalue a player by benching him, rarely playing him 2 minutes here, playing him out of position, and then think you're going to get premium value for him. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. If I put these glasses, of course, I'm not going to take them off because I'm not going to see anything. But if I put these glasses in a basket, right? Or let's say a dumpster, and it gets mucked up with dirt, filth, and all, and then someone else wants to buy it for whatever reason, right? That person is not going to pay premium price for it. That person is not going to pay the market going rate for it. Or well, the person may pay the market going rate for a pair of glasses picked from a dumpster. So when you're cheering your club, each time you cheer your club, oh, let him go to the bench and rot. Let him play with the academy. Let him rot there. What you're doing is, yeah, you're good. Your manager is showing he has power, right? Your manager is showing that, yeah, he can control the dressing room. And fair play, that may help make the dressing room less toxic. That may help make the players play better on the pitch. Fair play. But what that does in return is it devalues the player in the eyes of, would-be suitors, in the eyes of buying clubs. So that's the truth about the matter. And then, of course, we talked about, so for me, I think the deal to Leipzig should be done. It's a loan with an option to buy or obligation to buy, or you sell them for £30 million, something cheap like that. Yeah, that's it. I think get the deal done and let him go and get your Javi Simmons in the building. Don't make another Michael Olise, size a mistake, because you've seen Cole Palmer. He picked up that knock against West Ham during the warm-up. He couldn't play. Then you had Estevao William having to start. The plan wasn't for him to start. He had to start, and sort of drifted to the 10 role, and Gittins played and all that stuff. So it was a bit of a mess. That tells you need an actual 10 to come in the building. You're not going to play Nkunku. Fair play. Let him go. Get your Javi Simmons in. Then some people are going with this madness. Oh, transfer window, transfer deadline day. Oh, we're going to get all these deals done. Now, we've seen a couple of deals done, transfer deadline day, Enzo Fernandez, transfer deadline day. I've also seen some deals just absolutely get washed. Transfer deadline day. We saw Victor Osimhen deal didn't go through. So that's it for me. And speaking of Victor Osimhen, of course, he scored his first goal for Galatasaray. Big up to him. You know what he does best, and he will continue, to do that. So fair play in that regard. Now, speaking about transfer, speaking about Nigerian players, Victor Boniface, what do you think should happen to him? What do you think should be his fate in terms of where should he go? We've heard from Bayer Leverkusen, they said he will undergo therapy. Since the deal has failed, he will undergo therapy, and then he will undergo therapy at the club, maybe to rehabilitate him further and stuff like that. Fair play to that. Nice to see the club are trying to support him. But I just feel like Erik ten Hag no longer sees him as a first-team starter. And for me, I think that's not what we want from a Nigerian perspective, and that's not what he should want from a player's perspective. He should want to be a starter, and I think he is good enough to be a starter. When I look at Patrick Schick, I ask myself, like, really, is it that much better than Victor Boniface? I don't really think so, in my humble opinion. I don't think so. I don't even think I think Victor Boniface is a better overall striker than Patrick Schick. So, but every now and again, coaches have their preference. Maybe they feel Schick is a bit more physical, Ten Hag feels like Sheikh is a bit more physical. Maybe this is more of his type of striker, whatever his type of striker is. And you have, like I've just said about Enzo Maresca, you have clubs, you have coaches, you have clubs that decide, oh, we don't want the player anymore. And that's why sometimes when you look at Isak, though you feel for Newcastle United, being rejected all over the shop, you feel for them, but you also look at an Isak. If Isak was absolutely scrap, no one would be worried about him not wanting to play. He would have been already pushed out the door. Sometimes he would have been asked to train with the academy players, just like what Chelsea are doing with your Sterlings. Maybe cheering and say, "Oh, Sterling, yeah, he's been." So that's what you get. He would have been treated that way if he wasn't such a good player. So it goes both ways. Boniface has seen what he's seen with the injuries that he's recovered from, but they still feel like, oh, it can reoccur. So sometimes don't blame players when they just say, wow, I have to stick up for myself. And now speaking about players, this is a young one that Arsenal have signed. He is eligible to play for Nigeria and Ireland. And now we're doing a reaction video to his skills and abilities on the channel. But for now, I will just share my screen and bring it up and have a discussion about this. So good that he's going to Arsenal, but obviously he's not going to play. Possibly he'll be one for the academy. And he is Victor. Ozianhavuna. I think this should be a Delta or a Do deal not signed but in place. What's Ireland record fee? Shamrock Rovers midfielder to join AFC on a pre-contract arrive in January of 2027. So I get why that's not going to happen, because right now you see he is 16, and since England are no longer in the EU, what will happen is he can't move like a domestic transfer. What will happen is that he will be at the club and will only join Arsenal when he's 18. But even at that point, I don't think he still gets to play. I think he may end up being someone that plays at the academy or becomes a bench option. And there could be the possibility of him going out on the spate of loans, maybe European loans, while he's still as long as he's been signed, by them. So let me talk some opinions on the various news topics and items we talked about. Tolu Arokodare, seems like the move to Napoli no longer happening because they seem to have their sights set on Rasmus Højlund. And then, of course, you've got the interest from AC Milan. You think it's something he should be considering? To me, I think you consider it, man. It's your career, it's your profession. Consider it. If it's a good move for you, go on. The only thing I ask every player, especially Nigerian players, make sure you get the contracting properly sorted out. Every I should be dotted, every T should be crossed, and every strange clause you want to be in the contract, make sure it is in the contract. A gentleman's agreements mean nothing, count for nothing. Talk about Rio Ngumoha, wonderful goal he scored for Liverpool. Does this now make him a starter? Does he get to start the game on regular basis for Newcastle United first team? And then as well, we have to speak about the Florian Wirtz. No goals, no assists. Let's see how that shakes up. 116 million pounds British transfer record. Transfer record in the Premier League as well. So pressure on him. Let's see, just 2 games into the Premier League season. So see early days, but as an attacking player, as a forward, you have to get your business done early. By that I mean you have to get the goals in, you have to get the assists in. So at least you have that sort of pressure off your back. João Pedro's gotten that off his back with the goal he scored. Victor Gyökeres has got that off his back with the 2 goals he scored for Arsenal. Speaking about Arsenal, right now with Bukayo Saka out injured and Martin Odegaard seeming to be heading towards the treatment table as well, you think your club needs to venture into the transfer market to get get a 10 and get a winger? Very easy as coming, so I guess he would be able to take up the mantle from Odegaard. And then you have Noni Madueke. in there. Now, do you trust Noni Madueke enough? For me, I think he is a top player, heavily underrated by Chelsea fans for whatever reason. So you're super confident in him, or you want better and Mikel Arteta to go out there and sign you some new forwards, better and Arteta, or better than Arteta. So, just opinions on that one. And of course, we'll talk about Wolves being linked to the signature of Uche Chrisantus. I think for me, that's an excellent move for him. And I don't quite get why some top clubs in the Premier League haven't looked at him. Chelsea, I don't know why they haven't looked at him. Liverpool, maybe they say they have a Gravenberch in the building. Maybe that's what it is. And Szoboszlai and maybe McAllister. I think he's better than McAllister and Szoboszlai, but that's just my opinion. And maybe even better than Gravenberch. Who knows? As for Manchester United, I don't get what's going on there. They all seem confused. The only person that I think has the attributes to play in that middle is the person that Ruben Amorim has decided, you know what? You're going to have to fight for your spot and you're going to rock the bench. Kobe Mainoo, it's the only midfielder right now that Manchester United has, that they have in their building that sort of has the attributes to play that two-man central midfield role. Like Ugarte is the next one, but he hasn't been really impressive. Bruno Fernandes there is a luxury you can't afford. When you play that two-man midfield thing, having a player like Fernandes that doesn't have the physical attributes just doesn't work. And Ruben Amorim is just like every other young coach, strong-headed, stubborn, want to play the way they feel they want to play, irrespective of results. And we have that with Eric Chell, we have that with Maresca, we have that with Arteta. They play the way they want to play. Arteta, you can argue, is a bit flexible. It's come with this corner full thing where corner, scores via corner. It doesn't matter as long as you score goals, but I know people would complain if it was a Stoke or a Bolton of them days. But fair play on that one. So Ruben Amorim wants to stick to his guns. He wants to play his two-man midfield. But Kobe Mainoo is the one that's on the bench. That's a strange one for me. Uche Chrisantus, I think he will be fantastic for Wolves. Wonder what you think as well about him going there. Fantastic move, in my opinion. And then this Chukwueze thing about the link between him moving from AC Milan to Fulham. People saying 25 million euros is a stumbling block. Like, what are you talking about? What are you drinking? You shouldn't be drinking, right? You shouldn't be drinking. That's why you shouldn't drink. Because 25 million euros in this market, like I said, give me 25 million euros and maybe this channel stop functioning. I'm kidding. That's not going to happen. But give me 25 million euros and probably I take a 2 months vacation somewhere and no one sees me, right? So 25 million euros for the everyday person is crazy money. It's mad money, right? It's crazy. Me and you, it's crazy money. But for a club-to-club transaction, for transfer of players, given the way the market is right now, isn't crazy. 4 million euros for a player, a yearly transfer fee, yearly his wage per annum isn't crazy. It just isn't crazy. So I don't get what the stumbling block is. I just think it's another thing that has to do with the branding of Nigerian players. That's the truth about it. And I've said this, that we have a role to play. So Nigerian creating football-related content, we have a role to play. Mainstream media, Nigerian media have a role to play about the brand of Nigerian players. A lot of people talk about branding, and a lot of them don't even understand what a brand is. Brand is perception. It's perception. It's whatever you create that determines the perception of people regarding your product, or i.e. goods or services, or how they perceive a person. Look at Max Dalman. Look at how the English media are talking about investing since Messi. That's how they affect your perception. If he's ever to leave Arsenal, maybe when he's 16, to a club in the Premier League, I'm telling you, it's going to be for 40, 60 million pounds. Believe me, because that perception has been set. So when we drag down players and feel we're having fun, or Victor Boniface doesn't have talent, like some weird person said once, and in her mind she was making some sort of statement, I want to get known. You are affecting the value of these players. That's just it. So I think that's part of the reason as well, because I don't think if it was a Brazilian winger with the attributes that Chukwueze has, I don't think, a Fulham would look at him and say, yeah, 25 million euros is too much, 4 million euros a year salary or wage is too much. I don't think so. And what's even more important, I think he would be a very good fit for how they play, right? I think if he plays on the wing and Iwobi goes central, I think that could work better for them. Of course, they're also interested in Filippo Tele. I think that's a good. That would be a good move for those two wingers to go there. But the question is, are you willing to pay their value, which is not crazy? It's not super crazy. So, are you willing to pay the value of the players? I think it would be a good move for either of them to go there. Filippo Tele and Samuel Chukwueze. I doubt if Fulham will go for both players. Probably they'll go for one. And apparently they have a list of a couple of the 4 or 5 players they're looking at. I want to know who's on the list. I want to know Chukwueze, Otele, who are the other players that are on that list. But I think overall it would be a good move for him. Chukwueze, that's speaking, if he heads to Fulham, I think that would be a good move for him. He has the pace, he has the skill to thrive there, in my opinion. And then, of course, we've talked about Tyreek George possibly heading to Roma. RB Leipzig being interested. I think good move for him if he goes to RB Leipzig, especially. But right now, he needs to go to a place where he will play. And then Chelsea super keen on Garnacho. Maybe it's one of those deals that will be done on the transfer deadline day. Let's see if it happens. If he joins Chelsea, I'm super open to see what he does. But for me, he's not the sort of player you sign and throw away your future. So, but let's see how that all shakes down. I'm more keen on Xavi Simons, and the Xavi Simons thing right now seems to be tied to Nkunku, right? Seems to be tied to Chelsea agreeing a deal for Nkunku to go to Leipzig, and then Xavi Simons comes the other way. Let's see how that all shakes down in that regard. So, and then we've talked about this young player, Victor Oziavuna, Shamrock Rovers, signed by Shamrock Rovers player, signed by Arsenal, we're looking to join them in 2027. So that's 2 years from now. So let's see how that shapes up. And then there's this deal about this player. I know he was linked to Chelsea at some point. When Levi Colwill at the first moments when Levi Colwill got injured, he was linked to Chelsea, but those links have sort of subsided, and then it was Spurs, and then now it feels like Arsenal will be beating Spurs yet again to the signature of another player. So David Honeston says Arsenal walking to sign Pyro Nkapie from Bayer Leverkusen, subject to player exits. 23-year-old defender Bayer Leverkusen of wish to leave. Bayern prioritizing AFC above others, efforts ongoing to make the fee more realistic than 60 million euros. When I look at it, I think fair play. If Arsenal want to go get him, so are they looking at having two? You have your 1A and your 1B in Gabriel and Saliba, and then you have your Nkapie and Mosquera as one C's and one D's. So because it doesn't hurt to get quality in the building. It doesn't hurt, but so are you living in a place where you're a regular starter and want to go to a place where you more or less be a bench option and competition option? But then again, athletes are super competitive. So that's why they get to where they are. They all see themselves as being able to, he will be feeling like I'm better than Saliba, right? I can go there and I can put Saliba on the bench. I'm better than Gabriel. I'm better than Mosquera. I can go there and be the number one guy. So fair play for him if it doesn't work out. Ironically, I think it would have been a better move for him in terms of playing to go to Spurs, but there you have it. So Spurs yet are set to lose out or miss out on another player again to Arsenal, ironically. So that's it. You snooze, you lose. You get a player in the building. You meet and you're desperate to get a player, you make sure you get things tidied up, because sometimes once those players, leave leave that meeting room, they end up going to another club. Spurs should know that with William and all that stuff. So fair play in that regard. So what do you think about all the things we've talked about today? I want to thank everyone who's been watching, everyone who's been supporting, and the whole Isak thing. Thoughts and opinions on Isak. How do you think that's going to end up? I think for me, he should just leave. There's no need to remain there, to hang around there. I just think it's time for him to, just leave, go to Liverpool. But Newcastle United be willing to sell, or they want to prove a point that players wouldn't just demand to leave and then they would leave, that sort of thing. So I've been talking about this. Fabrizio Romano, I just posted this again. I know those Chelsea fans will be tired about this, because it just seems to be Groundhog Day. Every day is getting close. Every day is getting close. But we just have to talk about it. I know some people love the player, love the signing, love the idea of signing another player. For me, I'm not really enamored by the idea. But if he signed, he signed. That's it. So Alejandro Garnacho and Chelsea deal remains very advanced, with all parties. All parties expecting it to happen. Garnacho has rejected new approach from Saudi Pro League club. So from Saudi Pro League club, in the last 48 hours, he only wants Chelsea. And I know this is what gets Chelsea fans, and I know it gets a lot of football fans. He only wants a certain name of club. He only wants XYZ United. Ooh, he loves us. Oh, he wants to be with us. Oh, that's good. That's good. But is he good enough, though? Is he good enough? Yeah, I can want to play for Chelsea alone, but am I good enough to play? So is he good enough? That's the question. Hopefully he comes and proves himself right, that he's good enough. That's just some more talk, some more things to talk about. Garnacho to Chelsea, we've been hearing this. Both parties want the deal to happen. But it's strange. I think Manchester United is still want about 50 odd million. Chelsea want to offer between 25 and 30. Now, I think if you ask me, that's a gigantic gap, in the proposed sort of transaction. Now, speaking about medicals, it seems like some other player may or may not have some medical related issue, and that's Enciso. Apparently it was to move from Brighton to Strasbourg, and then at some point join Chelsea. And this, of course, as you would expect, many of clubs lose their minds. Clubs who have been chained by PSR, it's made them absolutely lose their goblet. But so you're seeing this now. So Enciso extra tests are taking place for Julio Enciso after he suffered a serious injury months ago. It's a key step ahead of move from Brighton to Strasbourg, Chelsea. So let's see how that whole transfer thing goes. Hopefully he's well and healthy and passes medical, because anything medical related, whether or not you think it's a good move or not a good move, you don't want a player to have any medical or injury related issues. So hopefully it works out well for him and he gets to play at Strasbourg. But the thing with this Strasbourg thing is, at some point, Luco, if you're wanting to do this multi-club ownership thing, then you must then, you must then get other options. You must get other clubs in your network of clubs. I'll put it that way. So I think we've talked about a lot of things so far. I wanted to know what his opinions are. For me, fair play. I talked about Rio Ngumoha. Hopefully he gets to play for Nigeria at some point. And hopefully the deal for Uche Chrisantus to Wolves pulls through. That would be fantastic news for him and for Nigeria. He steps his level up a bit. And then for me, I've stopped wondering why clubs don't go for Nigerian players, or top level clubs don't go for Nigerian players. Let's see how it shapes up. Hopefully he has a good season. He has a good career at Wolves when he does, if and when he signs for Wolverhampton. And to show you how important it is, his coach isn't happy with the idea of him leaving the club. Talk about Kanye Chukwueze go to Dortmund. I think brilliant move for him. He goes there, tries. Hopefully he shines there and can get a move to an even bigger club or at least a more lucrative move. And hopefully he as well gets to play for the Nigerian Super Eagles. And of course, talked about the Tolu Arokodare transfer, not quite a saga, but the whole transfer topic. Initially had talked about Napoli being interested in his services. He was on the list, to be fair. But right now, it feels like they're more open to the idea of getting Rasmus Højlund, initial loan, and an option to buy from Manchester United. And then, of course, Milan also reports are that are interested in him, but once again, he is part of a list of strikers they are interested in. They talk about Konrad Harder, then Danish striker that currently plays for Sporting Lisbon. I was thinking that he would be sort of the direct, successor to, or rather, natural successor to Victor Gyökeres since he's left, because he was his understudy for a while, but it seems the club are open to letting him go. Would it be possible to see Tolu Arokodare go the other way to Sporting Lisbon and hopefully go there and try? But let's see how it ships up. If he goes to Milan, that would be a good move for him. Let's see how it happens. Victor Osimhen back in the goals, got his goals, started scoring. Happy days for him. And then the Nkunku thing, still tied to RB Leipzig, Dito RB Leipzig. So I think Chelsea, if you really want to get Xavi Simons, get it done. Deadline day transfers aren't things that you can count your heart on, that you can absolutely say 100% that going to happen. And speaking about transfer deadline day, there will be a special transfer deadline day show on here. We're talking about all the transfers as they happen, as they come up on X and come up on those platforms. I'll be reacting and giving my opinion on it, and hopefully we'll have some panelists on here as well to talk about it as well. I want to say big thank you to everyone who's joined the show, who drop comments in the comment sections, who subscribe to the channel off the back of this video, and those who generally always keep supporting the channel. Big up to you guys. You are the real champions, and I'll see you on yet another video. Do have a fantastic